Hello everyone. Today we're going to be continuing talking about my journey to my heart transplant and all that stuff. I'm going to be doing it a different way now because doing it the way before would be way too time consuming for me and my mom just because we have so much stuff going on all the time.
Good job.
What I'm going to do
He's gonna
now
love
is
it.
I personally have
You're
never
gonna
read
do
the
both
blog.
hands, overachiever.
So there are, I do know
You want to go home, don't you?
Did, but there are a lot more unknowns to me of things that I did that my mom put in the blog that I have not heard of yet. So, to continue the journey, I will be reading the blogs myself and adding in different things of my knowledge that I knew were going on at the time. At the same time, it will also be me reacting to reading each of these blog posts, because there's going to be a lot of stuff in here that I did that was probably super ridiculous. Let's get into it. So, it's noon, the surgeon just called me, and when I say me, this is my mom's perspective of all of this, I'm going to be reading. They had to do quite a lot of cleaning up. Ethan is stable. There were no cardiac arrests. When the surgeon went in, he found some blood clots outside Ethan's new heart. This is because his blood pressure was yo-yoing, and the team was chasing his blood pressure all night. They would load up on fluids to stabilize his blood pressure, which would mess things up, and he would need another transfusion, which I had countless transfusions. There had to have been multiple weeks where all of the blood in my body was not even mine. They were able to remove those and clean up around the heart. Ethan was also having trouble with his new heart because the pressure in his lungs are so high. This is due to his body acclimating from his defective heart to his normal heart. They think this will stabilize over time. That was when my lung pressure was like quadruple the amount of times the level that it should have been. And I still have very mild like pulmonary hypertension, I think, which is still a continuation from the surgery, but eventually it will go away. They found a clot around the ECMO cannula that is helping his new heart to pump and his lungs to oxygenate. This was preventing it from working efficiently, and they were able to remove and replace that. Also, the surgeon felt it was best to create an arterial septal defect, ASD, which is a hole between the right and left atrium. This will help alleviate some of the lung pressure. This will heal over time, or if not, they can fix it later. So yes, after getting my new heart, well, after blowing up my previous engine, I got this one, instantly blew it up with my turbocharged, like, freaking lungs. So much pressure. Actually, that's literally a perfect way to explain it. My lungs were literally like a turbo, blowing way too much PSI of boost into a stock engine. So they had to put a hole in my heart. I don't know if it's still there or if it healed. They did an echo. They found that there was a clot inside the heart. They had to surgically open his new heart and remove the clot as well. It is now clean enough to eat off of. They are hopeful that they avoided him having a stroke, only but time will tell, which we know that I definitely indeed did have a stroke, because at this time nobody knew, but I definitely did. So fingers crossed he will be able to heal properly and gain strength. He is still on insulin, which will hopefully only be for a few weeks to months and be considered a transient diabetes. I did not even know this. I hopefully will get to see him in an hour or so. I am doing better than I was this morning. One thing he said to me during the day, he was waiting for his surgery, was that he is going to live the hell out of his new heart and treat it like every day, like his last. Because you never know if it will be your last or not. Sorry about my dialysis machine making noise. November 23rd, 2020, the 4:30 p.m. update that she put. After Ethan's surgery this morning, he has been unresponsive due to his sedation, ... Here we go. Until the neurology team came to examine him. Ethan has had almost most staff on the cardiac ICU floor. He had respiratory therapists, ICU cardiologists, pediatric cardiologists, 3 to 4 nurses, ECMO specialists, pacing team to make sure his heart rhythm is correct. The neurology came in because of the possibility that he could have had brain bleed or brain swelling. When I say team, there were like 5 of them, including multiple people already in the room. He has anywhere from 15 to 20 people standing outside his room just watching him. Some call out orders and others do those orders. Neurology noticed that his left eye was non-responsive and his right eye was fine. He seemed to be responsive in both feet and knees, but when we asked him to squeeze his left hand, he would squeeze his right. But at one point, he squeezed both, indicating he can get both of them to work. Meanwhile, it said, unresponsive due to sedation. He tried to give me a thumbs up with his left hand, but he is mostly going in and out of consciousness. He got a little miffed when they brushed his teeth and clamped his teeth down and refused to open his mouth. Oh my gosh. He doesn't like peppermint or strong mint flavors, so he might be pissed about that. Oh my god. He tried to brush my teeth, and I didn't like it, so I just clamped down on whatever the hell they were using. That's how determined I was. This is all just so funny to me because it's just like, only I would do stupid stuff like this. Like, this is so Ethan. They're disconnecting all of his lines so that they can take him to a CT scan to make sure that there is no brain bleed. He needs blood thinners to make the ECMO machine run, and he would have to stop blood thinners if he has brain bleed. They removed all the little metal leads glued to every side of his head, which took about 40 minutes to disconnect all of his 12 medications going in. They will have his results in an hour or so. November 24th, 1:30 a.m. I apologize for it being like a one day, but probably the first couple of weeks were the most eventful. Probably the first couple of weeks were by far the most eventful, whereas there was literally constant stuff going on. And as we got later into December, there would still be stuff going on, but a lot of it would be a little bit more minor. And then there would be like certain big events that would happen, but they were not like an everyday thing. They were more so like mild compared to the constant like huge everyday things that were happening in November and on to early December. So this is the next November 23rd update. Some progress. Finally. Ethan came back from his CT scan. His nurses and doctors said he was trying to text the whole time. I probably didn't even have my phone with me. Pretty sure you can't take a phone into a CT scan. When he got back to the room, keep in mind his eyes are glazed. His hands are tethered. I grabbed his hand and told him I was with him. Then he picked up his left hand and waved. I asked him if he was waving at me, and he shook his head yes. Then he waved with his other hand. I asked him if he could do a waving video for Paul, which is my dad. He said yes. He did a double wave to my dad, and he's just trying to show off. It was nice to see a hint of Ethan there. It brought tears to my eyes and a smile on my face. He then tried to communicate with me by drawing in the air. I do remember this. I probably don't remember it exactly correctly because of drugs, obviously, but I do remember something along the lines with Mom trying to take videos of me for specific people just to show them that I was okay. And I also do remember like sticking my hand up in the air and trying to draw stuff, which obviously is not a very good way of communication, but when you can't talk and you're strapped to a hospital bed, you gotta resort to what you can. So I think I do remember trying to draw or something with my hands, drawing in the air. That sort of worked. I got one word. When we then tried the pen thing again, he did a bit better, but it was still difficult. Could you mask, I think is what I wrote. The nurses were trying to help. They released him from his arm tethers. He didn't like the new doohickey. He didn't like the new doohickey the respiratory therapist put on him. It was tight. So we released it, and I think all that communicating got him tire him out. He has to have another round of imaging done. They think his eye, as well as his lack of fine motor skills on his left side, could indicate that he suffered some sort of transient ischemic attack, which is like a mini stroke. I'm still waiting for the official results. They are still discussing a plan for this evening. He is not out of the woods on that one. There's literally writing in here of me writing with a pen less than 24 hours after I had a stroke, which is nuts. 7 a.m. update on November 24th. Ethan gave everyone a little bit of a break last night. I'm feeling tired, but I'm eating, drinking, and taking vitamins. Imaging took him back for a CT scan with contrast. He got another x-ray, and I am waiting on the results of both. Ethan is still having trouble with his left eye and left hand fine motor skills. They tried to shift him a little bit to avoid bed sores this morning. They shimmed a pillow under his rear end and side. His blood pressure is now high instead of low, so they are trying to get him just right. Oh, kid, come on. Stick to the middle of the path. I don't ever do that. I always just do my own thing, even medically. Like, I can't even control that. His kidneys are working good, which is good. At the time, they still figured that I had two. Nobody still knew that I only had one kidney, and I was almost 18 at this time. Some of the medications is getting is harsh on his kidneys. His nurse is thankful that he was more cooperative last night. I'm hopeful that he will continue to stabilize today. They will lighten his sedation at some point. He really wants to get up and go. Okay, so November 24th, 2012. Guys, why can't I not talk today? So, update November 24th, 2020 at 11:30 a.m. Literally like 3.5 hours later. 4.5 hours later. Ethan is a kid that routinely steps in shit and comes out smelling like a rose. Somehow. When he was a baby and his aorta was so narrow, his body was quick to make a little tributary vessel to go around the issue. He was in heart failure, yet he was still able to do most of the things he wanted, despite the hardships of his body. Ethan's contrast CT scan revealed that Ethan did, in fact, have a stroke. This means that there was a clot that formed in one of his vessels in his brain that blocked blood flow, which kills brain cells. His body reacted quickly and used tributary vessels to bypass the clot so that he could still get blood flow to the brain. The vessels were already in place, but his body utilized them the right way. They think because of that, he didn't sustain too much brain injury. How? I know my body is weird, but how in the hell is my body able to do stuff like that? Like, my aorta was narrowed when I was like 9 months old, so apparently my body just bypassed it with other vessels. Same thing happened in my brain. It literally bypassed the blood clot so I could still get blood flow. That doesn't even make sense. How in the hell did I do that? That is incredible. Oh my gosh. The stroke happened in the last 24 to 48 hours. It is considered a brain injury. It can't be treated with medication because that would interfere with the other machines he is on. The plan is to stabilize his blood pressure. This causes his left side to be less responsive. His left eye isn't tracking or blinking. His left hand, he can move, but he has decreased strength. He can wiggle his left toes, but not as much as the right. The neurology team came in today, made up of 12 specialists. They think with physical therapy and occupational therapy that he will be able to gain a lot of his strength back. They did say he needs time. Time will tell us how he heals from the brain injury. He is understanding commands and following them, which are all good signs. How I dealt with the brain injury? I freaking kicked it right in the ass and kept going and didn't care. I think the only residual apart from the stroke that you can notice at this point is I still have a little bit of like stroke droop on this part of my mouth or on the left side of my face. Maybe also I can't think too. But like if I smile, this side gets up way higher than this side can. But so far, well, that and my left hand, I don't really have feeling in my fingertips. My pinky and the middle finger, I have decent feeling in, but my thumb and pointer finger, I really don't have good feeling in. Like, if I try to pick up something small or put small stuff together, it's hard for me to kind of like figure out the position of the object in my fingers as I hold it, which since I can't feel it, I sometimes like let go of it without even knowing, just because I can't feel it. I can't really tell that it's there. But I have managed. I'm still been doing a bunch of different stuff. Oh my god. The first goddamn line in the next part. Okay. This is the stuff that I find the absolute funniest. What the hell? Ethan is on the highest dose of fentanyl that he can be on. He is now going to be switched over to morphine to help it with sedation.
You started your morphine drip.
On a moderate dose. Since he wants to get up and get moving, I think he just wants to get back to his life at home. I also told him that he needs to knock off the crap. He can start to heal. No more cardiac arrests and no more strokes. Well, we know that that's not how things turned out. The highest dose of fentanyl I could possibly be on. If I had any more, it would have killed me. That is crazy. But also, I needed it to literally keep me alive. That is nuts. Wow. I don't know why, but I find that really fascinating. How my body was able to compensate so many intense things going on at the same time. And it literally did not give a shit whatsoever. Like 2 hours later, November 24th, 1:30 p.m. Ethan has had multiple people doing neurology exams. It involves having him squeeze both of his hands, lift both of his legs, and look left and right. Keep in mind he's cooperating and able to do a fairly decent amount of what they are asking while he is heavily sedated. They needed more information to determine if they were going to go in and remove clot or do extra imaging. Just supportive care. That was the clot that was in my brain, which they never went in and removed. I think it resolved itself. They decided they needed far more information, and the test they did under sedation needed to be repeated with less sedation, meaning he would feel pain and be more awake. He became more responsive and did pretty well with the exam. He was trying to communicate. He started feeling the pain, and it became so overwhelming, and he started sobbing. I don't doubt that one bit. I think at this point, my chest was still somewhat like open, and there were so many like fresh surgical wounds. I'm glad that I don't remember what it felt like, but I cannot imagine how painful that had to have felt in the moment. It's like unfathomable to think about. His arms and legs were moving as he was writhing in pain. He was trying to get away from himself. He couldn't even make a sound because he has a breathing tube. To put that in perspective, I was feeling severe pain, and I probably had an idea of why. At the same time, I had pretty much no valid way to easily communicate with other people to let them know what is going on. I was not ready for that. I can handle most things, but as I learned today, that was something I can't handle well at all. I saw his sweet little face wrinkle up in agony, tears welling in his eyes. What's wrong? He would mouth to me. He was pointing at his chest, looking at me with his swollen, hanging in there body, your nurses are bringing meds to make the pain stop. That was the extremely fresh incision. My sternum at the time was literally broken open. The nurse took a total of like 2 minutes to run and get the meds. She was speedy quick. That was the longest 2 minutes of Ethan in my life. I felt like everything was in slow motion, but this nurse was in fact going as fast as she could. I was trying to calmly tell him nothing was wrong, but I could hear the unsteadiness in my own voice. I was legit losing it, and frankly I think I am emotionally traumatized. As I was wiping tears off his crumpled face, as well as tears of my own, I couldn't do anything but stand there and hold his hand. He is now sedated, no pain, resting comfortably, and with that I will finish off this video. And I just want to say, which is why I found that it's so much more relaxing to live if you don't, which obviously there are some things in the future that are good to think about, obviously, like financially and careers and like planning out your future.
That's not a
and
pen.
stuff.
Are you looking for your
But
pen?
like things that are out of your control,
No.
I've found you just
Hang on.
take what comes your way and kick its ass, show it who's boss, and keep going. So yeah, I will forever be extremely grateful for everything that I continue to have today, all of the support that I have, everything that I'm able to do, even from getting to go up and work on my car and stuff. Even if I'm not able to do as much as I would have liked to do so far, the fact that I'm still able to get up, walk out into that garage, and be able to do some things to it is a gift that you literally never could ever put a price on. If there's something that you really are passionate about or really want to do, go out and do it. Make every single dream of yours the way that you want it to be and make it happen. Because life is just too short, and it's too short to be stuck in a place that you don't want to be in. And if people make fun of you and think you're stupid or something for something that you are interested in, then shame on those people. Because in reality, if you are happy doing what you love, whatever that is, if it brings you joy and it's something that you could do all the time, like if it's your passion, if it's your hobby, and make it your dream and live it to its fullest, no matter what other people say, and go out there and make your dreams happen, no matter what they are. I mean, I literally sleep next to a turbo. I can actually, yes, I sleep next to a Garrett turbocharger. Don't call me crazy. I'm just a car enthusiast, and I freaking love car parts and stuff. Which obviously this one's tiny. There's going to be a much bigger one going on my IS300, which I will be making a video about soon. I just want to leave this video with, I love you guys. I will see you in the next video, which should be coming out relatively soon, as I'm gaining energy and feeling a lot better every single day. I love you. Thank you for all your support. New merch coming out soon, and a lot of other big things I have planned.
You're waving
for
at the
future
camera?
is
Nice.
coming. Let's keep kicking ass, guys. See you guys.